So in today's class, our focus is on befriending challenges. Now in my place is raining, and the internet connection might be disrupted. And to me, this is very timely because just nice for this talk. Because this talk is on befriending challenges, we need to learn to make friends, be comfortable with uncertainties. It's still raining here. Anytime if the internet connection is disrupted, we have to stop. It's very timely, isn't it? Special effect for this talk. Let's recap on the definition of mindfulness. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness means remembering to pay attention to the present moment with an attitude of kindness, a beginner's mind, and wisdom. So today's lesson, we're going to focus more on wisdom. Of course, we have the entire definitions of mindfulness: present moment attention, kindness, beginner's mind, wisdom. But today's highlight, the focus, the emphasis is on wisdom. Okay. So under MINDFULGym wisdom, today we have two tools to share with you. In every class, we have one or two MINDFULGym tools to share with you. So for today, there are two tools. The first tool is called AAM, and the second tool is called the 5 Mindful Vitamin. So AAM stands for accept, adjust, and move on. And the 5 mindful vitamins are actually coping statements that help us to think wisely. So these will be the two tools that we'll learn today under the category of wisdom to help us to befriend stress, challenges, and changes in life. Okay, how can we think wisely? Our focus today is on wisdom. How can we think wisely? And one of the ways actually is by reminding ourselves that our life is like playing Tetris. Life is like playing Tetris. There are a lot of changes and challenges in life. In the MINDFULGym part 1, remember we have a session on the introduction to stress. We mentioned that stress is part and parcel of life. Our MINDFULGym program is not designed to help you to get rid of stress. It's designed to help us to cope with stress. So we are revisiting the topic of stress. Stress equals challenges and changes in life. Okay, and in a way that is inevitable. Here and now, I'm experiencing changes and challenges. As I told you, it's raining here. It might get heavier, and the internet connection can be disrupted anytime. So we are facing changes and challenges that is inevitable. That is inevitable, cannot be avoided as part and parcel of life. However, if we have the wisdom, to remind us this is normal. For example, now I'm running a MINDFULGym program. We're using the Zoom system. It's normal to have rain. I cannot complain about the rain. That's the nature of life. We can have rain. That's not within our control. So if we have the wisdom to remind us that life is uncertain, there are a lot of changes and challenges. If we remind ourselves in that way, then we don't expect too much from life. We learn how to flow with life. So I'm learning how to flow with life, flowing with changes and challenges here and now. Still raining here. I do not know when I have to stop it. Anytime, So we learn to flow with uncertainty. So we have the wisdom to be mentally prepared that stress can happen anytime, changes can happen anytime, challenges can happen anytime. And that in a way, we reduce our stress. Where we don't expect too much from life, we don't expect things which are impossible, then we reduce our stress. So the stress won't become too much, stress won't become excessive, stress won't become suffering. The same goes for the pandemic as well. All of us are facing the pandemic. There are a lot of stress, changes, and challenges associated with the pandemic. That is also normal. This is not the first pandemic, and this is not going to be the last pandemic. So it's very important to remember ourselves that stress is part and parcel of life. is inevitable part of life. Under wisdom, we also like to remind ourselves that stress is not the same as suffering. It's very important. Let me repeat. Stress is not the same as suffering. Okay? Suffering equals stress times resistance. This is a very, very important concept. I give you some time to let this message sink into your mind. Stress is not the same as suffering. Suffering equals stress times resistance. Remember, I mentioned earlier in the earlier slide, stress, changes, and challenges is part and parcel of life. Life is like playing Tetris all the time. All of us have stress, all of us have tension. That's normal. However, if we resist stress, there's resistance. Resist stress means we are not aware of stress, we do not know how to relate to our stress, then we have suffering. If we know how to relate to our stress, if we don't resist our stress, then stress will remain as just stress. I hope this is clear. Okay, if you're not clear, let me further explain to you in the next slide. Stress is inevitable. Okay, changes and challenges in life are inevitable. They are inevitable, they are part and parcel of life. But suffering is optional. Suffering is not a must. Stress is inevitable. Stress is everywhere. Stress is here and now. If you know how to deal with stress, knowing to deal with stress means to relate to our stress, relate to our challenges, with kindness, with beginner's mind, with wisdom. Then we don't suffer so much. Okay, got it? Stress is when we resist stress, that it becomes suffering. If we don't resist stress, if we learn how to relate to stress with kindness, beginner's mind, wisdom, then there is no suffering. Okay, so how do we relate to stress? Okay, as I mentioned, it's related to stress with kindness, beginner's mind, wisdom. More specifically, as I said, today we have 2 tools to share with you. So the first tool is called AAM. AAM, okay. AAM stands for accept, adjust, and move on. It's an acronym. A stands for accept. A stands for the second A stands for adjust, and the M stands for move on. AAM is a bit outdated these days. Actually, AAM is the original AAM stands for the Automobile Association of Malaysia. It's a car breakdown service provider. I think these days is no longer so popular. But at one time, AAM was very popular car breakdown service provider. Yeah. So in dealing with stress in life, this is how I remind myself. When my car breaks down, I will call AAM. AAM is the car breakdown service provider. When we are stressed, when our car breaks down, we call AAM. Okay. When our mind breaks down, that means when we are stressed out, and when our mind breaks down, we also call AAM, but this AAM is the MINDFULGym AAM, not the car service provider, not the car breakdown service provider. The AM here says accept, adjust, and move on. Okay, what does that mean? Okay. Accept basically is to acknowledge that we have a problem. Whatever problem. A is to acknowledge. Another one is to pay attention. Pay attention to our problem. Is to acknowledge a problem. The problem can be any problem. It could be a problem of anger, can be a problem of depression, can be a problem of family problem, work problem, health problem, can be whatever problem. But most importantly, in befriending challenges in life, we got to start with acceptance. Acceptance means accept that we have a problem. Okay, so that's the first A. Pay attention, accept that we have a problem. Okay, the second A stands for adjust. Adjust basically means to apply all the MINDFULGym tools that we have learned earlier, like mindful breathing, body stretching, butterfly heart, EFT tapping, unhooking thoughts. Applying those skills, applying those tools to help us to calm our mind. That is under adjust. Okay, in a way, it's related to kindness. Okay, so we be kind to ourselves by applying all the MINDFULGym tools we have learned to suit ourselves, to relax and to calm down. I hope so far so good. Attention is to acknowledge that we have a problem. Okay, kindness is to suit ourselves, be gentle with ourselves, to help us to adjust to the stress, changes, and challenges. Okay, and of course, M stands for move on. After we have calmed down, after we have relaxed our body, calm the mind, we have to move on to solve the problem. So that is the basic concept of AM, accepting, adjusting, and moving on when we face with changes and challenges in life. Okay, let me relate to you a real life incident, a kisah benar, a real life incident that happened to me, and I would like to use this example to share with you how I apply the AAM tool to help me cope with stress. Yeah. So this incident happened on one Saturday afternoon. Usually I spend my Saturday morning for my badminton game. Okay, so I play badminton usually on every Saturday from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. After the 12 o'clock, usually I drive home. And those days I used to conduct the MINDFULGym program in the afternoon. So badminton game is from 10 o'clock to 12 noon. Then I take my lunch, I rest, and then I conduct the MINDFULGym program at 3 o'clock. But on this particular day, something unusual happened because when I was in the car park of the badminton area, I found out that I couldn't start my car engine. So my car broke down. Okay, my car broke down. Yeah, so that is considered something stressful. Something was not under my control. Something I didn't expect. Okay, so I'm going to use this example to show you how I apply the AAM. Yeah, of course, initially I was very stressed out. It's not within my control. It didn't happen according to my plan. So my thought at the time was thinking, oh shit, why do this happen? Why this happen at this time? Why now? I got a MINDFULGym program to conduct afterwards, at 3 o'clock. Why now? Why now and why me? Yeah, so initially I have problem in accepting, or still in the distress stage. Okay, okay, but luckily the AM Kung Fu is good enough. So I told myself to accept. So I talked to myself, self-talk. Hey, after all, I'm the one teaching about AAM. I should learn to apply AAM myself. So I told myself to accept. Okay. As usual, of course, the experience was not pleasant. I asked myself what to do. Okay. I asked myself what to do. I remind myself whatever we resist, we perceive, So I got to accept the car broke down and my engine cannot start. That is the fact. Got to accept. Yeah. So that's how I reminded myself. Okay. Then that is under paying attention. So I pay attention and accept the fact that my car cannot start. The car broke down. I cannot start. Then I practice kindfulness under adjust. Okay. So while still in the car, I do my mindful deep breathing. I do a little bit of stretching, breathing to relax my body, to calm my mind. So that is under the second A, adjust. Doing mindful breathing to calm down. Yeah. Okay. So that is under adjust. Be kind to the mind and kind to the body by applying all the MINDFULGym tools. Okay. Then under M, of course, get to move on now. After I calm down a bit, then I ask myself, what can I do now? What are the options I have? Okay. When my mind is calm already, then I think, I have a few options. Of course, I can call the Alliance Car Assist Service. That's one option I have. Okay, or I call Grab, come and pick me up, or I can call a friend to come and fetch me. Yeah, call a friend and fetch me. So when my mind is calm, then I can think wisely and decide what to do. Of course, in that particular time, I decided to call my friend to come and fetch me because I got to run MINDFULGym at 3 o'clock. Okay, yeah. So that is focusing on what I can do. That is moving on. So that's a very good example, an incident whereby my car broke down is a stressful situation. That's how I applied AM, accept, adjust, and move on to cope with the stress. Okay, it's important to practice the AAM with all the MINDFULGym tools that we have learned earlier. By now, I hope you are able to see that all the MINDFULGym tools we share with you, they are all interrelated. They are not separate tools. They are all interrelated. Yeah. So all the MINDFULGym tools that we learned earlier, you can sort of park them under the second A, adjust. The A, accept. Accept is more just acknowledging there's a problem. Car broke down, relationship problem, family problem, health problem, whatever problem. The first A is accepting, acknowledge there's a problem. The second A, adjust, is all the tools we have learned earlier. Mindful breathing, mindful body stretching, unhooking thoughts, kindful healing hand, EFT tapping, butterfly hug, and so on and so forth. All these we can apply under adjust, mainly to relax the body and to calm the mind. Then only it's easier for us to move on. So moving on is also an art. It's not so easy to just move on. We need to do it step by step. Step one is to accept, acknowledge there's a problem. Step two, adjust, practice all these skills to calm the mind, relax the body. Then the third part, M, only we move on. So there's a wise way to move on. Okay, let us troubleshoot acceptance. Usually when I'm giving a talk or running workshop on acceptance, usually I find that there are many wrong views, many misconceptions related to acceptance. So I will help you to, over here, I will help you to troubleshoot some of the common misconceptions related to acceptance. If you have further questions, feel free to ask during the Q&A session. Okay. So one of the commonly asked questions related to acceptance is, why do we need to accept? Okay, why do we need to accept? Since we're quite a simple questions, but sometimes it can be a little bit more complicated. Okay, I'll start with a very simple one first. Okay, the obvious reason why we need to accept is because it is the part one of solving problem. Is the first step to solving problem. If you don't accept, how are we going to face a problem? How are we going to solve the problem? Right? Any problems we have in life, whether it's anxiety, depression, panic attack, health problems, family issues, relationship issues, job problem, financial difficulties, solving those problems always starts with acceptance. We get to acknowledge that there is a problem. Okay, that is an obvious reason why we need to accept. Without accepting, it's difficult to move on. Right? In the process of accepting, in the process of acknowledging our problem, there are a few quotes that I often use to remind myself on acceptance. So there are three quotes. They are my favorite quotes that I would like to share with you, which are all related to acceptance. The first quote comes from Dr. Carl Jung. Dr. Carl Jung says that whatever we resist in life will persist. Whatever resist, we will persist. There's another way of emphasizing the importance of acceptance. We got to accept, we got to acknowledge there's a problem. If you don't think it's a problem, then that is the biggest problem. Very often in my clinic, I share with my patients and the family members, I say, people who think they have a problem, that's actually not a big problem. The bigger problem is when people do not think that they have a problem. That is a much more complicated problem. That is a bigger problem. So remember this from Dr. Carl Jung, whatever we resist will persist. So instead of resisting, we learn to accept, we learn to acknowledge there's a problem. Just acknowledge. Acknowledging a problem doesn't mean that the problem is solved. It's only part one, the step one of problem solving. Okay? The second quote that I like related to acceptance that comes from Dr. Kristen Neff. Okay, Dr. Kristen Neff says that we can't heal what we don't feel. We can't heal what we don't feel. It's very true. Very often, in order to resolve certain unpleasant feeling like anger or depression or jealousy or resentment, we got to start with feeling it. We got to feel it. We got to acknowledge it. Then only we can start the healing process. Very often we hear of people with anger issues. People with a lot of anger issues. They may say, "I'm not angry." We try to point out to them, maybe you have an anger issue. They say, no, I don't have any anger issue. And we bang the table and say that I don't have anger issues. So that is a problem. So anything starts with acceptance. So there's another way of highlighting the importance of acceptance by these wonderful quotes by Dr. Kristen Neff. We can't heal when we don't feel. We got to feel it. We got to acknowledge it. Then only we can start the healing process. Okay. Another quote. This one comes from Dr. Dan Siegel. Okay. Dr. Dan Siegel says that we need to name it to tame it. Name it to tame it. So we have to learn to name the problem, acknowledge the problem, feel the problem. Then only we can tame it. Tame it means to solve it or to heal it. Yeah. Okay. All three quotes, all three sayings convey the same message. And the message is related to acceptance, the importance of acknowledging the problem, the importance of naming the problem, feeling the problem. Okay, next one. Okay. Misconceptions of acceptance. This is very, very, very important. Okay. There are three common misconceptions related to acceptance. The first one is acceptance means I have to like it or it's going to be pleasant. A lot of people think that, if I accept, then I'm going to be happy. Accept means I'm going to be happy. Accept then it's going to live happily ever after. That's not true. Acceptance doesn't mean that it's always pleasant. So in that example that I gave earlier, after my badminton game, my car broke down, engine cannot start. Was it a pleasant experience? No, it wasn't a pleasant experience. It wasn't a pleasant experience. Okay. However, with acceptance, when I acknowledge the problem, it helps me to resolve the problem. Okay. So acceptance helps with problem solving. Not necessarily it has to be pleasant. Not necessarily has to be pleasant. Okay. The second misconception is acceptance means I surrender and don't do anything about it. This is another common misconception. Acceptance doesn't mean I don't do anything. Acceptance means I acknowledge your problem, then work towards solving the problem. Back to that example when a car broke down. After I accepted, after I do my full breathing to calm down, I have to think, what can I do now? Should I call the Alliance car service, car breakdown service? Should I call Grab or should I call my friend? That's a problem solving part. Okay? Acceptance doesn't mean I surrender and don't do anything. Acceptance is acknowledging the problem and then think of what we can do about it. Okay? Third misconception related to acceptance. Acceptance is a Maggi instant process. This is not true. Acceptance takes time. Okay? Of course, when I share, when I talk, when I give example, sometimes it may give the wrong impression that acceptance takes place immediately. Of course, when we talk about it, when we relate a story, it may sound that the acceptance was instant process. But very often in real life, acceptance is a gradual process. It will take some time before we can fully accept. Therefore, since acceptance is a gradual process, it's helpful to imagine that acceptance has three stages. Under acceptance, it has three stages. The first stage of acceptance is acknowledging. The second stage is allowing, and the third stage is accommodating. Okay, so under acceptance, there are three stages: acknowledging, allowing, and accommodating. So there's a gradual process of acceptance stage by stage. Okay, you can imagine acknowledging it is like recognizing someone you dislike at the door. It's like somebody knocked the door. Acknowledging is acknowledging that is somebody knocking the door. You do not know who the person. You do not know. You're not sure who is there. At least recognize someone there. Someone is there at the door. Allowing is like opening the door, right? Opening the door for the person who dislike to come in. Okay. Of course, in this example, the person the person might not be a person. The person will represent our stress, our changes and challenges in life. So in my example just now, in the car accident, the car incident, that is like accepting that I have this car breakdown problem, allowing that problem, allowing me to slowly accept that I have this problem. That is allowing. Okay, accommodating is like learning to live with the person we dislike. Accommodating is learn to live with it. I find this analogy quite useful to remind us that acceptance is a gradual process. It's not a Maggie Bee thing. It's not an instant process. It's a gradual process, consists of 3 phases: acknowledging, allowing, and accommodating. It's important to practice AAM, accept, adjust, move on with kindness and wisdom. It's very, very important to apply AAM with kindness and wisdom. Okay. Acceptance doesn't mean that we don't fail in life. Acceptance doesn't mean that we don't fall. It doesn't mean that we don't fall. It doesn't mean that we don't fail. It doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes in life. I think it's very, very important. When I first started to learn about mindfulness and acceptance, I used to think acceptance means if I accept already, means everything will be nice, everything will be good. I won't make any mistake. I won't fail. Of course, later I learned that is not true. Okay? Acceptance doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes. Acceptance doesn't mean that we don't fail. But acceptance and AM does mean that when we fall or we fail, we learn to bounce back. When we fail, we learn to bounce back and bounce forward. Bounce back and bounce forward. Bounce forward means we learn something from the experience. Okay, let me give you a specific example. As you probably know, I'm a psychiatrist. So I help patients who are dealing with depression. So how do we apply this AAM concept in coping with depression? Okay, so in coping with depression, it is common to have relapse. Okay, it's common to have relapse. Okay, so when we practice AAM, doesn't mean we don't have depression relapse. For someone applying AAM in dealing with depression, it doesn't mean that the person doesn't have depression relapse. Okay, AAM does mean that we can fall, we can have a relapse, either a big relapse or small relapse. Okay, but most importantly, we learn how to bounce back. We apply all the MINDFULGym tools, we learn to bounce back. Okay, it is not about not having relapse, it's about bouncing back. Okay, after we have fallen, we bounce back and then we bounce forward. Bounce forward means in every depression relapse, we learn something about it. We learn about the causes and conditions that contribute to the relapse. So we learn so that in the future, we know what to do to prevent a relapse. So that is very, very important. So AM acceptance doesn't mean that everything is going to be fine, everything is going to be perfect, and there won't be any mistake. It doesn't mean that. Okay. This slide focus more on the M. Okay, I've talked a lot about the first 2 A's, accept and adjust. This slide I will emphasize more on moving on, the M, move on. Okay. Related to moving on, it's important for us to be mindful of our purpose and goals in life. Be mindful of our purpose and goals in life. If not, it's very difficult to move on. It's easy to say, move on. But if you don't have meaningful goals, meaningful purpose, it's very difficult to move on. For example, back to that example again. So the incident of my car broke down, I couldn't start the engine. You see, on that day, the incident didn't affect me much. Of course, I was stressed out. It didn't go according to plan, but I did not suffer. There was stress, but I did not suffer. Okay. The reason is when I look back, I think I have a very meaningful goal and purpose, because on that same day, 3 o'clock of the same day, I actually was I was supposed, and I did. Okay, I was supposed to conduct the MINDFULGym program. So conducting the MINDFULGym program, running the MINDFULGym course is my goal and purpose. So that helped me to move on very fast. All I need to do is to acknowledge, the car broke down. 2, do mindful breathing, calm down. 3, move on, call someone to fetch me home. Okay, then I move on with running the MINDFULGym program in the afternoon. Okay, so this is a very good example. If we have meaningful goals and purpose in life, it's much easier to move on. But if we don't have meaningful goals and purpose in life, it's very difficult to move on. Very difficult. In fact, after all the MINDFULGym tools, let's say after you do mindful breathing, after you do mindful body stretching, after you've done all those things, okay, you feel better. So feel better already, then what? What are you going to do next? Okay? So that's why it's very important to know our purpose, know our goals in life. Okay. Some of you at this juncture, you may be asking, some of you have clear goals and purpose in life. Some of you might not have. In fact, a lot of people don't have their goals and purpose in life. And one of the frequently asked questions I receive is they will ask, if I don't have any purpose, any goals, how do I find my goals and purpose? That's a very relevant question. How do I find my purpose, my meaning, my goals in life? That is a very, very good question. Because if you're not clear, how are you going to accept, adjust, and move on? Difficult, isn't it? Okay. So over here, I will share with you, I'll give you a few suggestions. I'll give you a few suggestions to help you to find your purpose in life. Okay. The first suggestion is try to recollect your childhood dreams. Try to visit your childhood and see whether you had any dreams that you had when you were a child. And maybe those dreams will give you a clue on what you want to do in life. Okay? Maybe when you're a child, you like to play, maybe you like to play guitar, or maybe you like to play piano, but maybe because you were so busy and then you didn't have the time to do all those things, then maybe you can revisit your childhood. Maybe you can do something related to music. Something related to music can be in the form of hobby, or can even make it into a career. Okay, so the first way is to recollect our childhood dream, and from there see whether we can find some purpose in life. The second one is to look for role models. I'm sure all of us have role models. Try to recollect the various people we have met in life. Who are the people that we find inspiring? Those that we respect them, we honor them. Try to recall these people in your life. Could be your school teacher, could be your family member, could be a relative, could be a friend, someone whom you look highly upon. Okay, and that also might give you a clue on your purpose. Maybe you want to be doing something like this person is doing. Okay, so that is a recollect on the role models you have in life. Okay, another method, the third method is I call it the death contemplation. Death contemplation means imagine you're going to die in 3 months' time. Imagine something going to happen. Imagine you're going to die in 3 months' time, and you're left with 3 months' time. Okay, if you're only left with 3 months' time, how would you like to live your life? How would you like to live your life? So you got to prioritize. You're going to die in 3 months' time. Okay, this is another way to help us to find the meaning, purpose in life, to help us to prioritize, to reflect on what matters to us in life, what is important to life. So you got 3 methods. Another method is imagine you don't have problems. Okay, of course now you might have problems. There are a lot of things you want to do in life, but now you may have problems. You may have health problems, you may get emotional problem. But imagine, let's say imagine. So imagine you don't have all the obstacles. Imagine you have good physical health. Imagine you have good mental health. Imagine money is not a problem. Imagine there are no problem, no obstacle, no challenges. What would you like to do? What would you like to do? So this is another very powerful way of thinking. Okay, and then you might say that, if I have time, if I don't have this health problem, then I want to do, maybe I want to do voluntary work. Maybe you say I want to do voluntary work to help people. I want to learn counseling skills. Maybe I want to learn counseling skills. I want to be a good listener. But I can't do it now. I can't do it now because maybe there are some restriction, because of some physical health reason, could be mental health reason, could be financial issues. But if you don't have all these issues, then you think, maybe I want to be a counselor. That also gives us a clue. Okay. If all those methods I mentioned they don't work, you got another method. Okay, then I would suggest that sometimes thinking too much might not be helpful. So the last method for us to help us to find purpose and goal, I call it just do it. Don't think so much. Just do it. Go and join some activities. Go and spend time with your friend. Do some voluntary work and just do something like. It might not be meaningful. It might not be purposeful. Just do it. Just do it because very often is in process of doing we discover our purpose in life. So sometimes think too much doesn't work. We need to just do it, and in the process of doing, we'll discover our meaning and purpose. Okay, yeah. So that's how we can apply AAM, accept, adjust, and move on. Okay, I will stop here for Q&A. Also for you to clarify anything related to AAM, accept, adjust, and move on. Yes, I can hear.
Okay, our life is strongly affected by COVID. My shop can't open and I can't travel. Sometimes I will worry this situation will last forever. How do I adjust it?
Very good. Good question, Amy. Thanks for the question. Yeah. So you have already applied the first A. The first A is accept, basically to acknowledge that we are all facing the COVID problem. Okay. And of course, you're also acknowledging that because of the COVID, you can't open your shop. Okay. You can't open your shop and you also cannot travel. So you have clearly acknowledged a problem. COVID problem, cannot open shop problem, cannot travel problem. So you already accepted and acknowledged. Is very good. Okay, so your question is more of adjustment. Okay, adjustment, of course, it goes back to all the MINDFULGym exercises. So you can choose. Can be mindful body stretching, can be mindful breathing, can be EFT tapping, can be butterfly hug, can be unhooking thoughts. So you can apply any of those exercises you will learn under adjust. Basically, adjustment is to learn to help us to calm our mind and also to relax the body. So that answers the worry. How to overcome the worry is to practice all those exercises. Okay. And after adjusting only helps to calm the mind and relax the body. After adjusting, then we can ask ourselves how to move on. And this context is what can you do? What can you do? Certain thing is not within our control. I mean, the COVID is still there. You cannot open your shop. You cannot travel. Those are reality. We cannot change anything. Okay, but under move on, you can focus on what you can do. Focus on what you can do. For example, you can attend the MINDFULGym program. Right? If you open shop and you can travel around, you may be so busy, you won't have the time to attend the MINDFULGym program for 8 weeks, So at least you're able to attend the MINDFULGym program. Because you cannot open your shop, you cannot open the physical shop. Maybe you can learn how to open your shop online, which a lot of people are doing these days, So you learn a different way to open your shop. Okay. For me, the same as well. Because of the COVID, I cannot conduct the face-to-face in-person MINDFULGym program. Okay, that one I cannot. Okay, but what can I do? What I do is I can learn how to run the MINDFULGym program on Zoom. It's not as good as the in-person training program, but it's better than none. So that's how we can apply AAM in the COVID situation. In your case, it affects your shop. In my case, it also affects my shop. My shop is MINDFULGym shop. Same thing. Okay, Amy? Got it, Amy? Good.
The next question is there a way to accept even if we are unsure of what the exact problem is? Is it a must to be able to feel it, name it, the 3 codes in order to accept?
Not necessary. Good question. Good question. Not necessary. Of course, when I teach, because when we teach, we have to teach systematically. So I say AAM. Step 1 is accept. Step 2 is adjust. Step 3 is move on. But in real life, it doesn't happen. It doesn't necessarily happen in that sequence. Not necessary. Not necessary. The sequence could be the acceptance. The acceptance could be just acknowledging there is something unpleasant. The acceptance could be just at the level of acknowledging there is something unpleasant. But I'm not sure exactly what's the problem, but I know there's something there. There's some problem, some feeling, some emotion. I cannot pinpoint it exactly. I cannot name it exactly, but I know something is there. That's fine as well. There's also a level of acknowledging. Remember, I mentioned acceptance got 3 levels. So first one is acknowledge. Acknowledge is something there. So not very clear, not exactly sure what is it, but it's good enough to acknowledge. Then we do all the MINDFULGym exercises, the EFT tapping, butterfly heart breathing. Sometimes when our mind is calm, our body is relaxed, then we have a better clarity on what's the actual problem. So we can start with a little bit of acknowledging of the unpleasantness. We're not sure what is it. Then we proceed with adjustment. Mind, body, relax. Then we have a better clarity of what is bothering us. Okay. Of course, not necessarily it must be complete the A's, then you go to move on. Sometimes we got to just move on. But in the process of moving on and continuous adjustment, we have a clearer idea of what's the problem. We have a clearer idea of what's the problem, and then we continue to adjust, we continue to move on. So in real life, the AAM is a dynamic process. Dynamic process doesn't have to be linear. Okay. Thanks to Anonymous for asking the question.
Thanks, Dr. Pang. The next question is moving on like having a solution, and if no solution, a learning out of the situation?
Yes. Moving on, not necessarily must be solving a problem. Of course, some problem can be solved, some problem cannot be solved. Okay, some problem can be solved, some problem cannot be solved. If the problem cannot be solved, we can learn to accept it. Okay, but sometimes we cannot change the situation, but we can still change the way we respond to the situation. Back to the COVID example. I mean, COVID is still there. In fact, there's more variants now. We've got the Delta variants, we've got the Alpha variant, all sorts of variants. It's there. We can't really change that. We cannot solve it immediately. So that is not within our control. But we can still learn to cope with it. So to me, learning to cope, learning MINDFULGym, learning to cope with the stress, learning to relate to the problem with kindness, beginner's mind, and wisdom, learning not to resist that, that is part of solving the problem. That is part of solving the problem. Okay? Solving problem not necessarily mean we have to get rid of the problem. COVID, it's a good example. Not necessarily you have to get rid of the COVID problem, but we learn to relate to the COVID problem. We learn to cope with kindness, beginner's mind, and wisdom, and that is part of solving the problem. So solving problem not necessarily to get rid of the problem. Solving problem is learning to relate to the problem with kindness, beginner's mind, and wisdom. I hope that's clear.
The next question is, when I set a life goal, I will give up while halfway pursuing it and become lost again. Then I set another life goal and the cycle repeats itself. Any advice? Thank you.
Good. If you notice in the slide or moving on, there are two pictures, you know. One picture is on purpose, another one is on goal. And one is purpose, one is on goal. They are slightly different, you know. If you look deeply, there's a slight difference. Okay, purpose is something very long term. Purpose is a direction in life. Purpose is a direction in life. For example, okay, my purpose is to help people. I'm just giving an example. My purpose in life is to help people. I like to help people. That is a purpose. Okay. Goal is what I can do in order to help people. Goal is not a direction. A goal is something that can be achieved. Okay. So in my example, running the MINDFULGym program, conducting the MINDFULGym program is a goal. And this goal is in line with my values of helping people. So my response to your question is, sometimes it's helpful to differentiate the purpose and the goal. Differentiate the purpose and the goal. The reason for me of saying that is because we can always adjust our goals. Purpose is still the same. We want to help people, but we can adjust the goals. Okay. So goals, by example, is running my MINDFULGym program through Zoom is a goal. Running my MINDFULGym program face-to-face is another goal. So both are different goals, but they have a same purpose. Same purpose. Okay? So it's important to differentiate so that we can be more flexible, so that we can learn, we can adjust our goals. We can adjust our goals according to situation. Okay? Back to Amy's question just now. Okay, so you cannot open a shop. You cannot open your shop. Opening your shop for business purpose is a goal. Is one way to achieve the purpose. Okay, selling your products online is another goal. It's a different goal, but the purpose is the same. Okay, you need to have your own business. You need to have a right livelihood. You need to support yourself. You need to be independent. That's the direction. But we can have different goals. So we can be more flexible with goals. If we are very clear of our purpose, then we can adjust the goals. That's my advice.
Let's proceed to the next questions. What can I do to help when a friend who is having a panic attack in front of me or through a phone call?
Having panic attack in front of me or through a phone call. Step number one, stay calm. You don't panic. Okay. If your friend is having panic attack and then you also panic, you have double panic attack. Then like that, die off. So first thing, stay calm. Stay calm. Second thing is maybe you can ask a friend. Okay. I'm not sure your friend how knowledgeable is your friend in dealing with panic attack. If you are not sure, I suppose number one is just to stay calm. Then you ask your friend, what can I do for you? Then you can talk to your friend, say how can I support you? Okay. Then maybe your friend may tell you directly, bring me the minyak angin, or just leave me alone, or get me some water, or get me my Xanax. So you can ask you can ask a friend, what can I do to make it better for you? Most important is to stay calm. Okay, if you ask people who are having panic attack, they will tell you one of the things that I wouldn't say they I would say we because I had panic attacks before. Okay, one of the things that we are worried about when we have panic attack, we are worried that the people around us don't know how to react. Actually, if you leave me alone, I'm better because I'm very familiar with panic attack. I've been a friend with panic attack for a long time. I know how to deal with this friend. But if there are people around me, they do not know how to deal with panic attack, then I have a double worry. I one worry to deal with my own panic attack. Now I have to worry about how do I react to your overreaction over my panic attack. So it's one common concern. So as a friend, keep calm, okay, and then just gently ask what your friend needs. Okay, if your friend has something specific need that you offer, okay. If not, just be there. Just be there, and just be there to support your friend. Be present. Just be there. Be present. Don't have to do anything. Just be there. Be present. I think that's good enough.
Thanks,
if your friend is a little bit more. If your friend has no idea there's a panic attack, of course, after that, then you can suggest your friend to get professional help. If your friend has not consulted anyone.
Okay, we have a reply from Emmy. Thanks, I got it, Dr. Pang. Thanks for your very detailed reply.
Good.
Okay, let's proceed to the last question at this moment. Due to the pandemic, I lost my job and income. How to cope with the tremendous stress, especially involve monetary commitment I need to make monthly?
Very good question. This is something that many people are facing now. Yeah, I think this question is best answered. It's best answered by the second half of today's sharing. Second half of today's sharing, because the second half you learn about 5 mindful vitamins. Besides the AAM, there are another 5 principles called the 5 mindful vitamins that can help us to buffer challenges like this. For example, the income and the job issue. But a brief response. Because you're done well in terms of acknowledging, you're accepting and acknowledging a problem. So you know you have a job problem, you know you have an income problem. Okay. So number 2, of course, apply all the MINDFULGym tools to relax the body, to calm the mind, because we don't want to make things worse. You already have a job problem. If you don't take care of your health, physically, mentally, things are going to be worse. So make sure you apply all the MINDFULGym tools. So at least you don't end up with more problems, more physical health problems or mental health problems. Yeah. So after we have calmed down, then we have to think of solutions. It is a problem. Maybe it's easier if we can remind ourselves in the process of solving the problem. It's useful to remind ourselves that we are not alone. Financial difficulty. It's good to remind ourselves we are not alone. We are not alone in this problem. There are many more people around us with similar challenges. So we can think in this way. Then we don't feel so lonely, we don't feel so shameful, we don't feel so fearful. Then when we are calmer, we are more likely able to come up with creative solutions. We are more able to come up with creative solutions. We are also more willing to talk to other people, because when we have awareness that we are not alone, we'll reach out to other people with same problem, so that we can discuss, we can support one another to overcome the same problem. Yeah, so that's the short response. For the longer response, for the second half of the presentation today.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Pang. Okay. I think 2 more here. What if the purpose, goals and dreams are unrealistic? 95% impossible to achieve. Miracle genius work. I feel like just a dreamer. Life is not purposeful.
Then adjust the goal. Adjust the goal. Adjust the goal. The most important thing is actually depends on how we define the terms. But for simplicity's sake, I'll just keep to 2 terms in this presentation. One is goal and one is purpose. Purpose is something very long term, very long term. Whereas goals are something of a short term. So you think it's impossible to achieve, then we set smaller goals. Set smaller goals.
Yes.
Again, I'm using an example for my MINDFULGym program. Attending a Zoom-based MINDFULGym program will never be the same as attending a real group face-to-face in-person MINDFULGym program. They're never the same. Those of you that I know they're graduates over here, I'm sure the graduates will agree with me. It will never be the same. Okay, but it's still okay. It's still okay. It doesn't mean that it's nothing. It's still better than none. So adjust the goals. Adjust the goal, lower down the expectation. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, that's right, Dr. Bang. Okay, okay, there is a reply here. Thanks, Dr. Bang, for explaining the difference between purpose and goal. I will consider carefully and think about it. Thank you. Okay, in the last question here, for car broke down incidents, if we have enough resources, money or friend, we can easily grab home or get help. But if we have limited resources, it adds to another problem.
Good question. Good question. Yes, you're correctly pointed out. But there is a but. Okay. When our mind is not calm, when our mind is very stressed out, it's very easy to think there is not enough resources. Okay. When our mind is calm, we can think of creative solutions. We can think of more resources. That is my main response. Yeah, of course, resources are always limited. Okay, but our perception of resources is very important. Remember, we had a session on thoughts, on perception. Our perception of resources changes when our state of mind changes. Okay, when we are very stressed out, when we don't have enough sleep, when we are having panic attack, when we are anxious, ultimately our mind perceives that limited resources. We will naturally feel that I'm the only one suffering. There is no hope. There is no way out. And sometimes in very bad situations, a person may even end up with helplessness and having suicidal thoughts. Okay? On the other hand, if we have enough sleep, we are rested, we practice all the MINDFULGym exercises, relax the body, calm the mind, our perception of resources will be different. Then we start to think, it's not that bad. There's still other options. The options are not perfect, but there's still options that I can try.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more?
That's all, Dr. Bang. Thank you for answering all the questions.